Welcome everyone to this webinar being put on by the Office of Parent Engagement in teamwork with the Office of Student Involvement here at Elon University. I'm Will Robertson. I'm the Associate Director of Parent Engagement, and I'm just here to introduce our guest today. And again, thank you all parents for being here today. We had about 300 people register for this. So we know this is a topic, fraternities and sororities is a topic that is top of mind. So we're fortunate to have Quentin Tucker, who is the Associate Director of Student Involvement here at Elon, to chat with you all. And he's got a couple of his students who will provide that perspective as well. And I'll let him introduce them. I'm gonna turn off my my camera because I'm not gonna add much more from here on out. But parents, those of you at home, if you have questions, there is a chat at the bottom. You feel free to ask questions, and our panelists will do their best to answer them as we go. So Quentin, I'll give it over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Will. And so, yes, my intentions are just to kind of facilitate an informal kind of conversation about fraternity sororities, give some perspective. I have Juliana Mack, call her J Mack. She's the Vice President of Recruitment for the Panhellenic Council here on campus. And we have Rush Lacoste, who's the current Vice President of Recruitment for the Interfraternal Council, so IFC, and the rising IFC President here as well. So they'll definitely be able to give a little bit more insight on the individual recruitment opportunities and timeline and things, and we'll give them some time. I just want to give a general synopsis of it overall as a whole. Again, as Will alluded to, we'll try to answer all the questions. And so, again, if I'm reading and staring at the camera, that's because I'm trying to read the questions here, so we can make sure you have your questions answered and things like that. So, just to give you a quick kind of structure as far as student involvement and how we have our setup for fraternity sororities. I oversee 3 assistant directors who directly oversee our council and our chapter presidents. And so we'll have an assistant director, Alexis Swider, who is the assistant director of student involvement, oversees the Panhellenic Council, is working with our potential upcoming 4th council, or more multicultural council. So she meets with all the presidents on a consistent basis, and then meets with the Panhellenic presidents and council on a consistent basis as well. We have Taylor Harris, who's the assistant director for fraternity and sorority. She oversees the Interfraternity Council, IFC, and meets with all the chapter presidents on a consistent basis. And then we have Joseph Glover, who's also assistant director and oversees our National Panhellenic Council, which is our historically Black councils for fraternities and sororities. And so that's kind of our structure. We have a graduate assistant as well who assists with both of those, as well as different activities. Each assistant director is responsible for a different activity, whether it's tailgating, late night events, or large social events on campus for our organizations. So that's just like a general structure for our office as a whole. Each council has a different structure as well. So our Panhellenic Council is our most robust council. We have about 2,500 students who, 2,000 students who are a part of Panhellenic Council. We have a Panhellenic president and a council for around 8 or 9 who are connected with the individual chapters or organizations. Within that council, we have 9 chapters that are representative throughout our Panhellenic Council. And so I'm going to give this time here for JMAC to talk about Panhellenic before we switch over to the other 2 councils.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Quentin. I'm Juliana Mack. I'm a senior here, and I am Vice President of Recruitment for Elon Panhellenic. So right now, just going to give a rundown about eligibility requirements for a student to go through sorority recruitment, as well as just what a general schedule will look like for someone going through the process. So first, a student must be enrolled as a full-time student and have earned at least 12 credits at Elon, or transferred to Elon with a minimum of 12 credit hours from another college or university. Student must also be in good academic and disciplinary standing with the university and meet the minimum GPA requirement of a 2.9. So getting into what actual sorority recruitment will look like It happens in the break between the end of J-term classes and the beginning of spring semester classes. At Elon, we call this little bit of time fake break. So sorority recruitment happens during fake break. But during J-term, PNMs or potential new members, people interested in going through the recruitment process and having registered to go through the process, will be meeting with their recruitment counselors, recruitment advisors. We call them PICAIs here, and they're just going to learn the ins and outs of recruitment before the process actually starts. But for formal recruitment, it is a 4-day process. The first day is Philanthropy Day, where potential new members will get the chance to meet with all 9 sororities. Then the second day is Sisterhood, where PNMs can be asked back to a maximum of 6 houses. Then the third day is Preference Day, where potential new members can be asked back to a maximum of 2 houses. And the final day is Bid Day, where PNMs will find out which sorority they received a bid from. And something at Elon with recruitment, we do host a mutual selection process, meaning that at each day after the rounds, after they've gone to all of their houses, potential new members will meet with their recruitment counselors and share their preferences on the sororities that they talk to that day. That's pretty much it for overview of what the process looks like. But if you are on this call because your child is interested in going through the recruitment process but doesn't know enough about it, we're hosting a Panhellenic meet and greet event tonight from 7 to 8:30. Well, they'll get the chance to talk with all of the 9 sororities, learn a little bit more about philanthropy, what it means to be a member of their individual sororities. And also a question that we've gotten asked a lot is finances, and those questions will be addressed at tonight's event. But registration for recruitment is opening in about a week and a few days, November 27th, and will remain open until 11:59 p.m. on January 2nd. But that's about it for sorority recruitment.
That's a great overview, J-Mac. We had one question that was asked are there any reference letters required for sororities? And so I'm assuming that's in when you're applying or registering for recruitment. The answer to that is no.
No.
There is not. It's just an application and a fee that you have to complete between the date that J-Mac just mentioned, November 27th through July 2nd. How many hours is rush each day? Great question. So we're very mindful of time. So each day lasts from about 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. each day. Is the 2.9 a cumulative? How much GPA is a sophomore? It's a cumulative, correct. It is a cumulative GPA of 2.9 for Panhellenic. Okay, so I'm gonna give Russ some time to go over IFC, and then we'll start going back through some of the questions if we have for both IFC and Panhellenic, and I'll overview NPHC intake as well. All right, Rush, take us away.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Rush Lacoste. I'm the outgoing VP of recruitment for the IFC and the incoming IFC president. I've had such a great time serving on this council. I wanted to do it again. I wanted to give back to the IFC everything that it's given me, and I'm super excited to take this role. But I did VP of recruitment because I believe the recruitment process is super important to the longevity of our fraternity life. We have 8 fraternities on this campus. Each is very unique in their own way and size and backgrounds and diversity. And I would say that there's no wrong choice for a fraternity. One of our biggest goals for men going through recruitment is that they get the chance to see them all, get the chance to explore everything that this campus has to offer. Going over some general requirements, they're very similar to Panhell, good academic standing with the school, everything. The GPA requirement for going through IFC recruitment is a 2.8. Certain chapters can have individual requirements, however, so that is up to the discretion of the chapter. The recruitment process, the formal recruitment process, is 10 days. It is a bit more, it's very different from the Panhell process. We like to give the chance for chapters to narrow down their potential bids, as well as for men going through recruitment to explore their options. This 10-day process consists of an orientation and a community event where all chapters come together with the potential members and share an experience. This was a dodgeball tournament or going to a volleyball game which is a great time to communicate with men from different chapters. And then after that, there's a 3-day open house process. This open house process allows for PNMs to literally go into open houses. Each chapter will have their house open on different days, and men are able to go in, talk. This is a 3-hour process. They can spend all that time at one chapter. They can go explore other ones. This is a great chance to meet men from all of our great different chapters. And then after that, after the open house process, is brotherhood events. These are chances for chapters to have invite-only events. So if a PNM is invited, they can go to these different events, and that gives chapters the chance to narrow down their bid list. And then the last day is, of course, bid day, where if they received a bid, they're invited and they can accept their bid. This 10-day process is very long, but it's very fulfilling. And we have a lot of resources to help all these men going through this process. One of those things is recruitment mentors. Recruitment mentors are men from within the IFC community from our different chapters that are assigned certain PNMs, and they're able to assist them in anything they need, give them updates. If they ever have any questions, they can reach out to them. And also our council, I believe, is very well connected. Men can ask almost anybody within the IFC community any questions, and everyone's willing to answer. Our chapters, again, every single one of them is great. I highly encourage anyone questioning whether or not to go through recruitment that it's worth the exploration. Finding a home here on this campus through IFC has been great for me. I would like to see everyone have that same chance. Like I said, again, 8 chapters, they're all very unique. Really put yourself out there, encourage these men to go through this recruitment process.
Great, thanks, Russ, for sharing that. So the other council I will speak about is MPHC and our multicultural organizations. Each one of those organizations have their own specific intake process. We have 6 MPHC organizations and 4 multicultural organizations. And so each one has their own process, which you're able to kind of look through on Phoenix Connect or on our website. But they have a rolling application. They typically have intake both spring and the fall. To answer one of the questions, Panhellenic has, well, just in general, we have a deferred recruitment process. So first semester, first-year students aren't able to participate in recruitment. After that first semester, essentially due to the credit hours, as Juliana mentioned, they're able to participate in either one of the processes. Fall recruitment happens on a informal basis for the Panhellenic organization or council. They do what we call COB, which is continuous ongoing bidding. And so JMAC can talk a little bit more to that, but there are opportunities to participate in recruitment outside of the spring semester. JMAC, if you could explain COB, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So after bid day, the last day of sorority recruitment, we will calculate total across all of the 9 sororities. Any sorority that falls below the total number of members is able to COB anyone that was interested in recruitment but didn't really want to go through it. Sophomores that weren't really sure if that was the place for them, they can join that organization through COB process and be informally recruited to the sorority. I hope that is that clear, Quentin?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So a few questions in the chat. JMAC, can you tell us where the meet and greet is happening and what time again today?
Yes. So the Panhell meet and greet is going to be tonight from 7 to 8:30 in McKinnon. It's like the big lecture hall in downstairs Mosley. And there was also a question about what type of finances would be discussed. There are dues to join a sorority, and there are some extra fees regarding like merchandise or social events. And it's different for each sorority. It's not the same all across. So being able to have those conversations with sororities tonight, those would be the ones regarding finances.
The one consistent finance specifically is for the application fee. I believe it's $100 for this semester. So when you apply, that fee is required to participate in recruitment. dress code for each one of the nights, that's typically going to be communicated through your podcast. For the most part, it's going to be informal, but there is going to be a formal one where they're going to be dressed. So it'll differ each day, but that's going to be communicated per day for the individual students. So there will be a time where they should have some business casual, business professional attire that they'll wear during the process.
If I could answer a question that's popping up in the chat, the 10-day recruitment process is February 2nd to the 12th. So this is after J term, and this is also after fall break, or that fake break.
Mhm.
So this will be during class time in the spring.
What's the difference between Panhell and IFC? Panhellenic is our primarily women sororities, and IFCs are men fraternities. Sorority houses, yes, there are. There is not a requirement to live in the houses, although typically that's offered to our first year P&Ms, those who go through. So mostly sophomore housing in those sorority houses. Trying to see if I can answer any specific ones. Is there an approximate percentage of students that get a bid? For sororities, yes, it's in the 97% of sororities or individuals who participate in Panhellenic will get a bid. And I think for fraternities, IFC, it's around 55% who will get a bid. 10-day period. 10 days. Is there any drinking required for pledging? Absolutely not. That is hazing, and we do not tolerate that at all. How does a student connect with a recruitment mentor? They'll be reached out to, right, J-Mac? Can you discuss what that looks like?
Sure, yeah. So recruitment counselors are disassociated members from their sorority for the entirety of J term. So it'll be about 2 leaders per group of about 15 P&Ms that are interested, and they will be reaching out to P&Ms that have registered in the first week of J term or so.
And to answer that question for the IFC perspective, recruitment mentors are similar. They're not necessarily disassociated from their fraternity, but they are representations of the IFC as a whole, not their individual chapter. And they will be assigned to a P&M, and they will reach out to them and their group individually.
Rush, can you talk? So there's a question about how does it work for invite only and bid day for fraternities? Is there a limit of how many frats invite you, how many you might receive, multiple invites? What does that look like?
Yeah, so during open houses, that 3-day process, chapters are taking notes, chapters are sort of narrowing down their lists. Those invite only events are up to the discretion of the chapter. They're able to invite as many people as they want. Multiple chapters can invite the same person, and that same person can go to multiple events. And again, it's up to the discretion of the chapter to narrow that down. When it comes to bid day, P&Ms can receive as many bids as they receive bids from, but ultimately only choose one bid. So
See if there's any other questions. Yes, the recording will be shared out. So on Thursday, for all first year parents, this recording will be shared in the email with a bunch of different information and links to our website, how to access this information, access the link, things like that. So this is being recorded and will be shared as well.
One really quick thing for fraternity recruitment registration, that will be open during the entirety of J term. I'm not sure the exact end date on that. That's up to student involvement, but it will be open the entirety of J term.
And I had a question that was, is hazing allowed? The answer again is categorically no. Hazing is zero tolerance for hazing. Any reports of hazing, chapters will receive cease and desist and go through the conduct process. So absolutely, there should be no hazing, and if there is, we respond appropriately as well. IFC does not. IFC recruitment starts the day after Panhellenic ends. So I think the last day for Panhellenic recruitment is the 31st, and I think IFC recruitment starts. Is that the 1st of February or the 2nd? Rush.
I believe it's the 2nd.
The 2nd, perfect. When is registration for recruitment? Got that. Exact dates for Panhellenic be set. Yes. So Panhellenic recruitment specific dates are January 27th through January 31st. Right, J-Mac?
Yes.
Advanced registration for fraternity recruitment? I don't believe so, right? Right, Rush? There's no advanced registration.
No, there shouldn't be, no.
Okay. Each house differs as far as how many people live in them, and so as little as 5 and as many as 13 for each sorority houses. Why do fraternities not do the enrollment during break? The length of time. So I think they don't have the timing for it, and I think I don't know, Russia. There's another answer. Well, why do fraternities not do the enrollment during break or recruitment during break? I mean, it's never been a practice, and they do it every semester as well.
Yeah, and J term is also a time where a lot of involvement on campus kind of slows down. So I think we want to kind of defer that process to the spring.
Yeah. Roughly 40% of students participate in Panhellenic or IFC. As far as fraternity sorority, so MPHC and multicultural, we're around 43% of students are within the fraternity and sorority community. J-Mac, I've had this question a couple of times. If folks can't make it to the meet and greet tonight, what are your suggestions?
Yeah, we have recommended to all PNMs that we have talked to that have been at events just to follow the Elon Panhellenic Instagram, as well as just all 9 sororities if they can. But regarding the meeting tonight, we are sending out a Panhellenic guidebook before registration opens, and it should cover all aspects, philanthropy, sisterhood, finances, really just what it means to be a member in these individual organizations, and that will be released to everyone. Everyone will have access to that before registration starts.
How many members are in each sorority chapter? So right now I think our average is right at 200 members per chapter. There's 9 chapters. Not required to have a resume to participate in recruitment. I'm not sure the difference between housing costs for sorority and campus residence halls. I think it depends on if it's a single room or a double room, but those are in alignment with the other housing on campus. Can you speak to the overall role of Greek life in Elon's social scene? Do students who are not affiliated have access to parties and events? J-Mac and Rush, can y'all answer that?
Yeah, Greek life is definitely has a very large presence on campus. Of course, so many students are a part of it, but it is no means the only way to get involved socially on campus at all. That's one of the reasons we have a deferred recruitment process, pushing it back to the spring so that freshmen have that chance in the fall to explore all the other avenues on campus that we have, and not just be solely involved in Greek life.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Being a member of a sorority is an aspect of me being at Elon, but it is not my entire student life at Elon. I have been with my roommates for the past 4 years. None of them are in sororities. So being in a sorority is just a small aspect of my social life. It's very important to me, of course, but I wouldn't say that there's a hindrance in those like 2 groups not being able to come together.
Perfect. We got a few questions here about fraternity housing and fraternity membership. And it's a question of similar if there's a similar event for fraternities. So I'll answer 2 and I'll let Rush, I'll let you answer. Housing situation, guys live in houses after freshman year. So we have deferred recruitment. So typically it might be second year, first year students or sophomores who are typically, but primarily our fraternity sorority housing is sophomore housing. So it's typically juniors don't normally live there. It's mostly sophomore students who will be in our fraternity houses. We have 8 fraternities active on campus right now. Rush, I don't know if you can share if there's a similar event for IFC, like meet and greet tonight, and if there's a general average yearly cost for fraternity membership.
Yeah, so I believe that we will have an event closer to IFC recruitment, sort of the same vein as Panhell event that's going on tonight, but that's not currently scheduled. The best way to keep updated with everything IFC is to follow the IFC Instagram. We post graphics, we post updates on there. It's really important to us. As far as finances go, I cannot speak to any single chapter. They all vary a lot because each chapter has a very different nationals. Each chapter has a big variety of members. They can range from anywhere from 20 men to 80. So I really cannot speak to any individual chapter or the IFC as a whole.
As far as cost, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't even give you I don't even know what the lowest and the highest are off the top of my head. So I couldn't even give that range. If I could, I would. Sorry about that. Again, they're all very specific. Go ahead, Rosh.
I will say during IFC orientation, chapters will have the chance to present and talk about their chapter, and one aspect of that is the new member dues. I will say that new member dues are normally higher than dues after the new member process. That's just because of how most national chapters work. But again, I can't speak to any individual chapter, but they might learn about it during orientation.
Thank you, Rush. A couple of questions surrounding J-term and sorority recruitment. Applications open November 27th and end on January 3rd. If students are gone for J-term, they can still participate in recruitment as long as they're back for the start of it. So they don't have to be here during the entire time, as long as they're here for the start of it, which is January 27th. And that information, again, can be found on our website, as well as they both mentioned the Panhellenic and IFC Instagram pages. I got a funny question here. What do you love about being a member of your organization?
I can speak on that. I was a little hesitant about going through the recruitment process to start. I wasn't sure if that was for me. I wasn't sure if that is who I would be at Elon. And once I joined the sorority, I absolutely love my organization. And I love also that it has pushed me to become more of a leader, both socially and just in other aspects of my life. Through that, I just have a great support network with current members as well as alumni. And it really is just a supportive environment. Everyone working towards like a similar cause, I guess, with philanthropies. That was a big part of why I wanted to join one. Yeah, I just love the group of people.
For me, I have an older brother, and of course he's like my best friend. He went to Elon as well. He was a senior when I was a freshman. But having that big brother aspect has always been a part of my life. And going through recruitment, I really found a group of people that I looked up to, like they were my older brother. They're mentors, they're people you can rely on, and I think that was a huge part for me. And as I've gotten older and more mature in my chapter, I feel like I can be that sort of guide for the younger people under me. And I'm super thankful for that. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I love my chapter and I love, the IFC community here.
Thank you, guys. There's been a couple of questions around legacies for fraternity and sororities. I'll just say for MPHC and multicultural organizations, each individual organization has a different take on legacies. Some are automatically able to participate, and some it doesn't matter. I don't know, Russia and Juliana, can you guys speak to Panhellenic IFC for legacy?
Yeah, for sororities, just like having letters of recommendation, it is not taken into account if you are legacy. I am legacy, and I would mention that in a sorority conversation, but you are not asked to talk about being a legacy, and it does not give you a like foot up in the recruitment process.
I would say that is very similar for IFC recruitment. Being a legacy does not give you a leg up over anybody. Legacies aren't as large a part of Greek life as it might be at some other campuses here. And it has never been a part of how we operate.
Perfect. Is there any sorority and fraternity activity during fake break? Yes. So that's all of recruitment for fake break for sororities. The rank of GPA for frats and intramurals listed publicly. GPAs for all of fraternity sororities are listed publicly every semester. If intramurals, no, that's through campus record and wellness. How much time should a student plan to spend as a member of a sorority, weekly meetings, philanthropy, social events? I don't know. What do you think, J-Mac?
I think that differs for every sorority and how much you want to be involved. If you want to attend every single event, if you want to hold a leadership position and make that your Elon experience, that's great, but it will be a large portion. We do have weekly 1 hour meetings at minimum to be in the organization. There's social events like maybe twice a month, philanthropy events that are really encouraged that would happen about twice a month too. It really just depends on the level of involvement you want to have, but there are some events throughout the months that it's mandated that you attend.
Yeah, I think it definitely does depend on the individual student and their level that they hope to get involved in, but there are required chapter meetings, typically once a month. Then there's, if you're on ZEC board, if you want to participate in these social events, a lot of them are strongly encouraged, not mandatory. And so it just depends. We require maybe 1 or 2 as an office, mandatory events or educational opportunities for all of the community. And so it just depends on their involvement and then the individual organization on what they require versus what is encouraged or voluntary. For hazing, so when I mentioned no tolerance for hazing, it says what is permitted and what isn't. So anything that will impact a student's psychological or mental participation to go through in order to join the organization is considered as hazing. So if there's anything that is not within the prescription of what a new member orientation or new member process is included, every council is required to submit their new member process to their specific advisor. Every organization, I'm sorry, is required to submit their new member process to every organization, their advisor, and that's approved. And so if there's anything that's outside of that, in order to get membership within the organization, and it has any type of physical, psychological, sociological, physiological impact on a student, that definitely can be considered as hazing, and we don't tolerate that, and have processes through our hazing investigation process through a student conduct office that manages that. Does the university oversee any of the off-campus housing offered by Greek organizations? Are there safety inspections? Do most members live in housing or on off-campus? So if there's any off-campus housing, the university does not oversee it. So again, the word off-campus. So when I think about the official off-campus, so there are main campus and then off of main campus housing that obviously our university receives. Then there's off-campus, so there's no affiliation to the university. So we don't oversee those spaces. So we don't do any inspections on things that are not considered campus housing. I would say it depends on the size of the organization on members living on campus. Primarily our sophomores will live in our fraternity sorority houses. We do have juniors and seniors who live in other housing around campus, just not specifically in our fraternity and sorority houses. The percentage for each chapter is going to be different. And I think I seen a question like pledge class sizes. Panhellenic averages around 45 to 50 for each pledge class, which is a spring semester class for recruitment. For IFC, it differs by organization. Consistently, we have organizations that even during our main recruitment process have 5 or 6. The more robust organizations are going to bring in a maximum of typically 20 to 25 during our larger pledge classes. They're not limited. So fraternity pledge classes are not limited size. Panhellenics aren't either. It's based on those who participate in recruitment. And so depending on the number of interested P&Ms will kind of determine what the class size is. Is there a fraternity listing of all yet of chapters on campus? Yes, it's on our website. How are you handling stories that had dirty underground rush already? So if we know about them, so we have our judicial council on Panhellenic, so they investigate that if there's any submissions, and then also through our office if it's any violations of specifically hazing and things like that through dirty rushing. Our student conduct office manages those. Recommendations from moms and grandmoms that have been sorority. Again, yeah, recommendations are taken into consideration for Panhellenic recruitment. Advantages of being in a fraternity or sorority graduating from Elon. Yes, in general, I mean, I think obviously Rush and Juliana haven't graduated yet, but I am a member of a fraternity, and I think it's the networking, right? It's the relationships that you build. There's a lot of statistics that share about the engagement and the success of students who participate in a fraternity or sorority organization on campus, what their social belonging looks like, what their interpersonal skills look like. So there's a lot of different advantages, just depending on how engaged the student who participates in is. Are all 8 fraternities recognized by their national organizations? Yeah, so in order to be on campus, they do have to be recognized by their national organizations. So yes. How does sorority acceptance line up with housing application and selection? Great question. So housing application or housing selection happens right after Panhellenic recruitment and IFC recruitment. So once their recruitment process ends, there's typically a 2-week process to determine if any of the new member wants to participate or live in the sorority houses. So right after, actually. So great question. While they are not required, do letters help? I don't know, G-Mac, what do you think?
Even when P&Ms are registering for recruitment, there's not even a space to upload letters of recommendation or things of that nature. So I wouldn't say like they're neither encouraged nor recommended because nothing would come from them.
Sure.
And it's the same way for IFC as well.
How long is the pledging process for frats? 10 days for IFC. Typically a semester for MPHC fraternities, sororities. And I believe the date was February 2nd through February 12th for IFC.
Was that for recruitment or for the pledging process?
Oh, it says pledging process. So that's different.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
IFC pledging is typically around 6 weeks. It depends on the chapter, but again, it's required by the school that it's around that time.
6, I think 8 weeks is the max, right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Why are I so much smaller than Panhellenic, especially considering only 55 million get bids? So and Rush, you can kind of speak a little bit as far as the classes being smaller. There's a smaller interest. So Panhellenic, typically we've gotten the last couple of years, we've gotten around 600 applications for potential new members. On a heavy year, we'll get a maximum of about 200 for IFC. And a lot of those get knocked out by GPAs, which is another limiting factor. So it really just depends on the knowledge of the young men who are interested. So the GPAs and the interest of, again, it's kind of mutual, similar. And I think you can speak to that, Rush, of like it has to be a mutual between the potential new member as well as the organization, as far as that percentage. I'm curious, typically is the new member, how long is a new member process? So yeah, 6 to 8 weeks for, every new member process is required to be done within 6 to 8 weeks of their recruiting process being completed. Percentage students who go through recruitment who do not get master house required cross-cutting. Can students go through recruitment as second-year students? So who do not get matched to a house, I think what you're asking is if I think of those who are interested in the organization doesn't, the percentage I think is 2%. I think last 2 years we had less than 4 out of the 600 potential new members. We have less than 4 or 5 each year. Are off-campus formals and such associated with Greek life? Yes. So IFC and Panhellenic can have off-campus formals. Most of the formals are off-campus because of how large of a space they have. If I wait to decide and want to join next fall, is that an option or only spring every year? As long as you're not a first year student, fall will be an option for each one. For Panhellenic, it will be COD. And for IFC, there's an informal recruitment for both semesters. For sororities, heard what you said about no place upload, no benefit. Yep. So okay, sophomore year is the only one who can live in a sorority. Not necessarily. So you can live in a sorority house whatever year. That's just typically because first year students aren't they already have their housing as they come in, and then those who live in who are juniors typically will live on campus in a different space. So it just depends on the individual student. See, there any other questions? Credit hours. Yes, you have to have 12 credit hours in order to participate. As the students going away during trip and intern, so yes, if you're on a trip during J term, you can still meet with your peer advisor because it's that first day, the 27th, that you'll meet for Panhellenic. And then obviously IFC won't have any issues with that. What does sorority pledging look like? J-Mac, can you kind of talk a little bit about the pledging process after recruitment?
Yeah, so that's our new member process. It's like Quentin said, 6 to 8 weeks. And it really is just a lot of bonding events between your PC, your pledge class, getting to know everyone. We had like sisterhood retreats, different bonding events, study halls, stuff like that. And we have like pledge mom's assistant to recruitment chairs who just lead the process, get everyone to know each other, and also do like meet people in the upper classes as well.
Perfect. Are there sororities that are just local to Elon, not national? No, all of our Panhellenic organizations are national organizations. Housing picked or chose? I don't know. I think it's dependent on each chapter, but essentially those who are interested have an opportunity to have it, just depending on the spaces. With each house, they have about 12 to 15 or 12 to 13 spaces and a pledge class of around 45 to 50. So it just kind of depends on who's interested in that. What constitutes dirty rushing? Can you speak to that, J-Mac?
Sure, I can try my best. It's really any sort of bid promising conversations with potential new members that would influence their decision to rush a specific sorority. That's why we call this a recruitment process, because PNMs are getting the chance to meet with all 9 sororities. And if we called it rush, it would mean that they're going like specifically towards one sorority, which is what we advise against. So those conversations with members in sororities of influencing a PNM's decision one way or another, promising bids, being invited to social events, things like that would be considered dirty rushing and will be addressed accordingly by myself and faculty and student involvement.
2 questions here. A specific sorority for Asians, or can Asian students apply to any sorority? They definitely can apply to any sorority. We do have a multicultural organization, Kappa Phi Lambda, that is an Asian sorority. How big is a typical pledge class for sorority? Around 45 to 50. What is involved in the 6 weeks of frat pledging? I think Russ answered that already. There's a mom's weekend for sororities. Is that true? And if so, when? Yes, there is a mom's weekend for sororities. Is it different for every sorority, J-Mac?
Yeah, so we have a mom's weekend and we have a dad's weekend. Usually each sorority does, and one would be held in the fall semester, one would be held in the spring semester. Sometimes they rotate. It's kind of just based on campus events and usually decided in the summer when they're planning for big social events for the next year.
And just being mindful of time. So it's 1 o'clock. So to see if there's any final questions. Do current freshmen sign up for on-campus housing in dorms and then switch to returning housing if they are accepted? Typically, no, but there has been that given as an option if wanted. Do sororities and fraternities partner together for any events? Wow, great question. Yes, I would hope. So each council, so IFC is a council, so they oversee all the fraternities and so the presidents of those 3 council meet every week or every other week. And then there's interaction between Greek Week and social events, philanthropy events, community service events. So yes, we try to have Greek unity across all 4 councils on a consistent basis. Yes.
All right, Gwen, last one.
Perfect. Last one. If 600 rush and only 450 get bids, do others drop or just not get bids? If 600 apply would be the language. So between the day that the applications in to the official day of rush, well, we check for conduct backgrounds, if there's any disciplinary probations, if there's anybody who doesn't meet the GPA requirement, those people are notified that they aren't qualified to participate. And then the others would be if you are getting a bid or if you're getting a return back to an organization that you're not interested in, students will decide to voluntarily drop, but 97% of them will get a bid to a organization. It might just not be the one that they're interested in. So
awesome. Perfect. Very good. Well, we are at our time. We want to be mindful of everybody's time, but I do want to say thank you to our panelists. That was great. We had almost 200 people here throughout the afternoon and had over 100 questions, and I think you guys got to most, if not all of those. So thank you all so much for your time, and to parents who were here, we appreciate it as well. I know there's not a great time with time zones and everything when everybody can be here, but to have over 200 people here shows that this is an important topic and something that's top of mind. So as Quentin mentioned earlier, our first-year parents will be receiving an email from our office on Thursday, so 2 days from now, that has a lot of links and a lot of information. It has the scorecard for fraternities and sororities, disciplinary issues, that kind of thing, as well as just lots of dates and links and that sort of thing. So be on the lookout for that as well. If you're not a first-year parent and want that email, just shoot us a message at parentengagement@elon.edu, and we'll be happy to forward that along to you as well. But again, thank you all for being here. And if you have any other questions, Quentin, what's the best way, if a parent has a specific question that they didn't get answered today, what's the best way to get that answered?
Student involvement at elon.edu.
Okay. Yep. Just shoot them an email, studentinvolvement@elon.edu. You can always get in touch with us in the Office of Parent Engagement as well, and we can connect you to the right folks. So panelists, thank you all again for being here, and parents, thank you as well. We will be posting this video to our website as well if you want to watch it again. So we appreciate it.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Will. Thanks, J-Mac. Thanks, Rush.
Thank you.
Of course, thank y'all.